Breaking down Liberty sports. This is the Patriot Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back to the High School Fan Zone on Wednesday night. This is Randy Rosetta. This is 100.7 The Score, and I think I've got Morgan Glaspie joining me on the phone. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here, and Ava Kincaid is with me.
Okay, so and I thought of this coming over here. When I talk to Ava, what flashes in my head, I used to tell Paul Page this about one of his players, I get the sense that Ava Kincaid is like a young Morgan Ashmore 2.0. I imagine you were a go-to interview for whoever was covering you and Spearman back in the day. Fair to say?
Yeah, she's very well spoken, and every time she speaks, you can tell she's been listening. So whenever Coach Damel and I are asked about someone to come interview, she's kind of our first choice, just because she's going to be really easy to talk to, and she's mature and has great answers. So yeah, you're right.
I've told your girls, I've told other kids before that so I've got a 16-year-old at home myself, and I always think about if some media guy tried to talk to my daughter, she'd just be terrified. If she's listening, she's going to be really mad. She would just freeze up and not know what to say and look at you like you had a third eye in the middle of your forehead. So, Ava, thank you very much for not looking at me like that way.
Of course.
So you two, your entire program, but you two are part of that, had a pretty good week last week. Morgan, talk about what you guys did at your first ever Liberty tournament.
The last time I talked to you on the radio show, we had gone through that really tough part of our schedule, and we were sitting at 1-7, and so we hosted our home tournament and went to Nazareth too right before that, and kind of just started putting some pieces together, and they were able to be successful in these games and see the work and those tough games and the little stuff we fixed all come together. So we were able to go 2-2 at Nazareth. We beat a really good Clarendon team that had only lost one game. And then we went 5-0 this weekend at our Liberty tournament, beating a good Portales team, which was probably the highlight, win of our weekend. But they play with good talent. They're a good team. They're well coached all the time. So I feel like in the Portales game, a lot of our lessons came together that we've been working on. And, we were behind in the fourth quarter and just slowly came back, didn't freak out, and then took care of the ball the last 2 minutes and, beat a good team. So the fruits of our labor were shown.
Yes, and Ava, I didn't want to come right out, and I don't want to disrespect the other teams you beat going 5-0. But that win to me that's like the centerpiece of your week, is beating Portales, the way you beat them. Ava, how much did that kind of give you guys a shot in the arm? I mean, beating teams by 30 is great. You had a good quote about it. It does help you kind of build some camaraderie because girls who don't normally play a lot can come in and get some time. But being in that tight game against Portales, how is that something that you guys can build off of now moving forward?
Portales, I think, was a super good win for us because we've been in quite a few games this season where we did trail and didn't pull through the game and ended up losing. So having a game that we were down in and come out with the win, that's super good, and it just kind of shows our progress and how we kind of have as a team turned a corner. And so overall, it's just super good for the morale of the team.
And Morgan, I'm not sure that that's something you've been able to do much the last couple of years until the last week. Is you guys, you've got 5 good starters, but then you've got some girls on the bench who don't play a ton yet, but could probably play a lot of places. You've been able to develop a little more depth for a program that's just in its second year.
Yes, and I think that just comes with experience. Last year, a few of those girls were kind of thrown to the fire where, you may have a person who would play more on JV, but we had to have them for varsity. So I just think that comes from the experience of last year and this summer, but it also comes with some girls who are very selfless and have, understood the situation we're in and the schedule we're playing, and they listen to everything you need them to. So with that listening and with, just trusting in the development and trusting in the process, they're starting to kind of pave their own way and get their own minutes, and not even just get their own minutes, but produce. So I'm proud of them, and I'm thankful that we have a bench that's like that, and they'll continue to contribute more and more as the year goes on.
And as your friend Caitlin Anderson will tell you, that makes practice competitive, and you're not going to get better if you don't have competitive practices. So
exactly. Yep.
We're coming up on a break. We're going to talk more about the Liberty Lady Patriots. You guys are 8-8 now, correct?
8-9.
8-9. Okay. I haven't given you one more loss, so I'll leave it that way from now. It looks better. We'll talk more about what's coming up for them heading into Christmas, after Christmas, and then in district when we come back on the Patriot Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.
Bringing you the latest news from Liberty Athletics. This is the Patriot Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Patriot Fan Zone, the final segment of the High School Fan Zone 2024. We'll be on a 2-week hiatus with all the bowl games and NFL playoff games and all that and everything coming up. So we'll be back on January 6th. And last reminder, the format's different now. Monday night is the 4 LISD schools, so we get Coronado, Estacado, Lubbock High, and Monterey in that order every Monday, 6 to 7:30. Wednesdays will be Friendship, Lubbock, Cooper, and Liberty in that order, 6 to 7 p.m. We're in the Patriot Fan Zone right now with Morgan Glaspie and Ava Kincaid. And Ava, I will apologize in advance. I think I mentioned this to your dad. If I slip and call you Ava Houndshell at any point, that's because I've got a Swiss cheese old man brain. Ava's one of my riders, and she played volleyball at Lubbock Cooper. She was really good, so I promise that's not an insult.
Oh, you're good. I know who you're talking about.
Yep, I think she maybe covered one of y'all's games for me not too long ago. She's a rising star.
Yeah.
So, Morgan, speaking of rising stars, your dad surprised me the other night when I was sitting there chatting with him. I didn't realize that Tony Wagner was one of his assistant coaches way back when, so I'm assuming that you've known Tony for a few years too.
Yes, that was when I was in elementary school. So Tony and Kevin, and I was good friends with Kevin, and we're pretty good friends with their family. So that was a fun time at Plainview with Coach Wren and Coach Wag and Dad, and some good ones there.
Now, is that where you get some of your sideline spirit animal from watching Tony?
I don't know. I think some of my sideline spirit animal is genetic.
That's probably
the foot
true.
Stomp and I try to blame it on other things and not come down hard on my dad, but I think that's just in the blood, because if you ever saw my brother coach, he's just as intense. So I think it's just in the DNA.
Yeah, and I hope that there's things that my daughters have not taken after me, so I totally understand that. My wife was with me at the Estacado Brownfield tournament game the other night, and we just watched Tony. If he put a pedometer on during games, I imagine his step count is it's amazing. You don't.
He had a hip replacement, so I think
he's very excited about it.
Than he normally is. So
yeah, he's very excited about it. Now my wife also watched you coach the other day, and she was amazed that you're coaching. And I'm not going to divulge any details here, but you've got a baby on the way. Because
31 weeks pregnant, yes.
She worked with both my daughters. She worked right up until it was time to go to the hospital. She actually went to a basketball game on a Sunday afternoon, and then we had a scheduled C-section the next day. And the poor usher at the LSU game wouldn't leave her side. He was worried that she was going to drop into labor right there. So, but she was very impressed by your activity on the sideline the other day.
Oh, well, thank you.
And when you told me that it's more comfortable when you go down on your haunches like a catcher, which I caught for a long time. I don't know how that's comfortable at all. But watching
everyone keeps telling me to quit squatting.
Well, unless they've got an MD at the end of the name, I don't think you have to worry about it too much.
Yeah,
well,
I'll be all right.
We'll move away from the health segment of the program now. You guys close out Friday at Greenwood, or Greenwood's at your place?
At Greenwood.
At Greenwood. So we talked about this before. In fact, my friend Mike Gustafson was just talking about how you and Trent Hilliard have both mentioned this. You do not shy away from playing tough competition, and this is another one. Greenwood, I believe, if I saw right, is 13-6. So what are you expecting when you go down there? How's that going to kind of get you ready for the Cap Rock just less than a week later?
This year we're playing the big school bracket of the Caprock tournament.
Wow.
So I also just think, to be elite and have an elite mindset, you can't beat teams by 50 all year and call yourself elite. And so records, we've talked about this, don't show a lot to me. I think our progress is shown in the games we've played, win or lose. But Greenwood's going to be, that gym's hard to play in my opinion. Can be a hostile environment, but just a smaller gym like we're not used to. They're a good team. They got a new coach 2 years ago, and she loves basketball. She's real invested in it. So they're well coached, and they were ranked 15th for a while, I think. So it'll be a good test for us. But like I told the girls, it's not time to check out for Christmas break yet. We need a JV win, and we need a varsity win going into the break and beating Greenwood. And, we talk about defending a lot and just showing what we can do on defense and making a statement on defense and letting the offense develop still. And that's what our game plan is going to be going there. But our goal is to not check out of the Christmas break early and get a JV win and a varsity win and come home and rest for a few days.
All right, Ava, give me the 10-second answer to this. Do you girls like playing this kind of tough schedule? You were pretty diplomatic about it the other day, but is it something you look forward to?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
Or do you guys enjoy playing this difficult schedule that Coach put together for you?
It's definitely challenging, but I think, as I said before, you just have to appreciate it, and you have to appreciate what she's doing for us. It's just preparing us for district and for playoffs, and so it has us to where we've seen challenges that it's nothing new for us. And as she said, that it's not really your record that matters; it's the progress that you're making as a team and all that.
Well, and Liberty's made plenty of progress. They'll be back in action Friday. We'll be back January 6th with the High School Fan Zone. This is Randy Rosetta on 100.7 The Score.